what's up? It's Fluent Chill. I'm Fluent. He's Chill. What up, Jay?
I'll tell you what's up. That thing that's in your hand is interesting that you only brought one of those. You didn't bring two of them?
Man, if I could pass it through the screen, I would pass it through. You know,
can you believe this guy? Can you believe this guy? This is unbelievable. He's the only one that drinks espresso. I don't drink espressos. He's the only one. I don't want.
Do you know why I got this Nespresso machine?
I'm very interested to hear this one, Tom.
George Clooney. I saw the commercial with George Clooney.
Do. I'm coming home
and
now.
I said, look, my hair's going a little bit gray. Maybe if I drink some of this Nespresso,
it might work out for you.
I bought myself a Lincoln because I saw Matthew McConaughey. Like, I'm telling you, advertising works.
It does, yeah.
I promise you this. You know, I'm going to be in Florida in April and again in July. I will bring you an espresso machine. These cups, I don't know. These cups I just got these cups though. I kind of like these.
The cup makes it look even better. In fact, that's why I want one. And not just because it's an espresso. The cup makes it just look better.
It's delicious. I'm not gonna lie. It's really good. So that's enough of the free advertising for an espresso. Give me a holler. Set us up with a sponsorship deal because we'll both be drinking these every morning. We got a show. I did something a little bit different today. There were so many questions from Mail Drop that I gave us 5. And two of them, it's interesting. 2 of them are professional athletes who I think kind of posted it on Twitter. And one of our viewers said, hey, you guys, what do you guys think? So I love that. So it came from a couple of players through to us. So I'm loving what we have for Mail Drop today. It's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. Then one of the things we're going to talk about is the death of my Lakers.
Well, hang on, Tone. They're not dead yet, okay?
We on life support. Not only are we on life support, the players, the fans are booing, the players are rebelling. So we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it.
Okay.
But first, and I have to preface this because we're gonna start the show off, but I have to preface this with 2 things. 1, when I refer to someone and we have a conversation about, is this person an all-time great? What I immediately have to do in my head is say they've announced their retirement today. They're not playing another down. They're not playing another quarter. They're not taking another shot. They're not making another pass. They're dead today. They're stopping. Because I can't say, will this person be a top 10 player all time and be like, well, you know, if he plays 10 more years at this level and no, too many ifs. Today, they've come out and said, I'm retired. Are they an all-time great? So that's the first thing that I had to say. 2, I came out with a question about this particular player about 3 weeks ago. And I said, other than the offense, scoring specifically, what does KD do that's great? I never got an actual answer. I got a bunch of people saying, well, he does everything else good. And I said, no, my question is, what else does he do great? I got, well, what about this player and that player and those player? What else do they do great? And that doesn't answer my question. I got, of course, you're just a hater. You hate Durant.
Of course, he's absolutely getting that. No doubt. Definitely.
So here's my question today. No one ever answered that question. So here's the question that's we're posing today. Is Kevin Durant one of the greatest scorers of all time?
Yes, he is. He is one of the greatest scorers of all time. Now, when I think about a guy, I don't do the 3-level scoring thing, Tone. That's something that's been invented over the last like 5 or 10 years. And give me a break. I mean, it's
I don't mean to interrupt you, but do you know where that came from, right?
I don't. I really don't.
I'm 99% sure, and if you're in the comments, please correct me. I'm not fluent in video games, but I've been told NBA 2K.
Don't tell me that it came from a video game.
It came from the video game, and when they're talking about draft prospects, they say, "Oh, this is a 3-level scorer," and that's why it's a very young thing to bring.
Right. Now I can appreciate it, but I don't do the 3-level scoring thing because my logic is, if you could score, if you could stop this, or if you can't stop this, then that puts me in a great scoring space. Jabbar had one move. Stop this, you stop me. Nobody will say that Jabbar wasn't a great scorer because Jabbar couldn't shoot the long ball. Nobody would say Jabbar's not a
Someone will. They'd be wrong, but
nobody with basketball knowledge would say that Jabbar wasn't a great scorer because he couldn't shoot the long ball or because he didn't have a mid-range game, right? Jabbar had one move. It was the skyhook. Stop this, you stop me. With that being said, I appreciate what KD does with the basketball. I appreciate how versatile he is. I don't like the fact that he doesn't score on the box. That part doesn't really grab me that much, but his ability to shoot the long ball is a big deal. I definitely dig that, especially somebody at his size. His ability to just get to spots. I'm not going to downplay the scorer that Kevin Durant is. You know, his ability to get to the strike in the meat and potatoes of the game, because a lot of people discount that. Getting to the free throw line at the end of the game and coming through. Because plenty of guys have gotten to the free throw line and they are terrified. You know, the fact that Kevin Durant is almost a 90% free throw shooter. That's a big deal. The fact that his mid-range game at 6'10", 6'11", where he could just get to spots and raise up over guys, how good he is in transition. Those things matter. His ability to handle the basketball and to just, because when you get to that level, Tone, I don't think that there's even a guy who can not really stop him more than just disrupt him, because he's going to get to his spots. Now it's just a matter of keeping a guy like that off balance. And there haven't really been many guys that I've seen in the game today that could keep him off balance. I mean, I saw him the year that Toronto won the NBA championship. I mean, Kevin Durant did come to Toronto and put 47 on Leonard. He did do that. So with that being said, I look at Kevin Durant. I think he's a top 5 scorer all time. But to overrate him as a player, I don't do that. I absolutely don't do that, because his ability to play make, his ability to pass. I think Kevin Durant got 3 or 4 seasons where he averaged under 4 assists. You don't pass. Excuse me. He does not pass at a high level. No, he does not.
We're gonna leave the all-time great up for a second. We're gonna finish on all-time great. So, but for an all-time scorer, you're putting him where? Top 5, top 3, top 2,
top 5, top 5,
top 5 all-time scorer. All right. So let me ask you this again. Remember, he retires today. He's not playing another game. So his per game average is good, right? It's the same as LeBron James. Would you put LeBron James as a top 10 5 scorer all time?
I do. Yes, I do.
You do. Okay. So the reason I asked the question is when we talk about, it's interesting how the narratives change. So when we talk about LeBron James, what does everybody bring up? Oh, well, you know, he's going to pass Kareem. He hasn't even passed Malone yet, by the way, just for the record. But he's going to pass Kareem. He's going to have the most points in NBA history. Well, where does Kevin Durant rank in most points in NBA history? I don't think he's even top 20.
I think he's right outside
21, something like that.
I think he's right around. I think he just passed Ray Allen not too long ago, so I think he's right around in the top 25.
So here's what the doubters tell me, and let's be clear. I'm playing devil's advocate. This is not Anthony K's opinion. I'm playing devil's advocate. He's never had a 60-point game.
0.
He's had very few, I think 7 50-point games. He's not that guy. If you look at his 40-point games, it's not he doesn't lead the, he's not up there. So are we confusing now, don't get me wrong, I think he's insanely efficient, right? Because his averages are almost 50-40-90. He's a couple of percentage points off of having a 50-40-90 career. Much like, I always bring up that for Magic Bird. Could you imagine Magic Bird? That would be a player. Larry Bird, same thing. I bring the same up. When you're a couple of points off 50-40-90 for your career, that's insane. So he's very efficient. He's very consistent. And what I mean by that is, how many low games do we see from him? How many 8-point, 6-point games do we see? But we also don't see a lot of 40, 50, and never seen a 60-point game from him. So he's not an all-time total. So we got to look at per game for him, just because, he's been hurt now. He hasn't played that many years. What is he, 12, 13 years in? And he's came
in 07. This is year 15 we in now.
But 2 seasons he didn't really play. So that's right. Kind of putting that into context too. So he doesn't have the all-time number. So we got to look at per game. So per game, he's at 27 a game. In an NBA that is averaging about 10 more points per game. In an NBA that is shooting 10 times. Just think about this. Not 1, not 5, 10 times more threes than they did when Larry Bird was shooting his.
Over 35 years ago.
And so when I see a 2-point differential, let's say, between those two guys, and I go, well, yeah, the league's shooting 10 more threes. Of course, he's got 2 more points.
Right.
That's not a feat. So he's very efficient. He's very consistent, but a great scorer. Like, don't great scorers need to have games where, hey, I dropped 60 on you because I had to? Like, is he more of a consistent scorer, or is he a great scorer? Is there a difference? Is there a difference?
Let me ask you this question, Tone. Exactly what you just said. Don't great scorers need to have that? Well, which great scorer doesn't have that? All of them do.
Kevin Durant doesn't.
With the exception of Kevin Durant, which great scorer doesn't have that? I mean, Jordan got hurt in 1989. He got hurt, and they were booing him in Cleveland. Oh, really? You're going to boo me? He put 69 on him, right? James is in Miami. He scores 60. So I think a lot of that has to do with it. And I'm going to get some heat for this, but I don't think Kevin Durant is that guy mentally. He'll take he'll take his foot off the gas. Bryant won't take his foot off the gas. James won't take his foot off the gas. Jordan won't take his foot off the gas.
If I may, let me throw in Wilt. Wilt is counting every point in his head, so he doesn't care about. I hate to say it, he cares less about winning and more about his stats. But that he's a great scorer for that reason.
Malone has a 60-point game. These guys won't take their foot off the gas. Kevin Durant will get to a point where, all right, I think that I'm good. I think he will let you off the hook as a scorer.
Yeah.
And the idea that, well, I could get whatever I want out here. Do it then. Then do it. Because I don't listen to Tone. Well, if he played at this time, he would do this. If he played at this time, well, this is the time that we're playing now. Because I heard from someone who said to me, which is really interesting, Kevin Durant, he would score 60 against Bird. This is the same Kevin Durant who has 0 60-point games in the freedom of movement era. 0. He's got in his he only played 13 full seasons. He's got 7 50-point games in the freedom of era movement, where you couldn't really put hands on guys. Now, when I think about Kevin Durant as a scorer in terms of his seasons, he led the league in scoring 4 times. I think about great seasons. I mean, Jordan, that 87-88 season, in terms of scoring, that's one of the best scoring seasons in NBA history. Chamberlain in the 61-62 season, that's one of the best scoring seasons. I got to put Elgin Baylor in there, too. He went 38 a game that year. That's one of the great scoring seasons, right? So when I think about Kevin Durant, I'm thinking about his great scoring seasons. What would his greatest scoring season be? Would it be the 13-14 season? I think he averaged 32 a game that year. Would it be his 10-11 season where he led the league in scoring, but I think he averaged 29 a game, 28 a game, something like that? So when I think about KD as a scorer, I do think versatility matters. But with him, I think he lets guys off the hook.
His 4 years that he led the league in scoring: 32, 30.1, 28, 27.7.
That's the one. I think that's the 28. I think that's the
10-11.
Yeah, that's 10-11. Yeah, when he averaged 28 a game.
That's 27.7 to lead the league in scoring is a little weird to me.
Jordan led the league in scoring at 29 a game, and he was 35. So when I think about you being a great scorer, I think about Kevin Durant being an awesome scorer.
And may I say, when he was 35, the league was averaging like 95 points a game. Now they're averaging 110.
Right. James is third in the league in scoring today, and he's averaging 29. At 37 years old, he's averaging 29 a game. And Kevin Durant did that in terms of leading the league in scoring. Kevin Durant is tricky because how good he is as a scorer, but he's one of those guys, for me, where he does leave me wanting more. I'm thinking to myself, you could get 40 on this guy. You could get 50 on this guy.
Can I float something out? Can I float something out to you? And then we're going to do our conclusions at the end of this, but let me float something out to you. Kevin Durant grew up in Washington. Do you know what his favorite team was?
He dug Vince Carter. That was his guy.
Vince Carter and the Toronto Raptors. That was his guy.
Yes, sir. That was his guy.
What's my biggest complaint, if you remember, or I'll tell you? What's my biggest complaint about Vince Carter?
That he didn't do it long enough.
No. Vince Carter? Oh, didn't do it peak long enough. Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was going to say he played in the league for about 100 years.
Yeah.
That's my second actually biggest complaint. My number one complaint is Vince Carter was very happy being who he was, which and that's this. This is not a bad thing. And what I mean by that is, like, listen, I graduated from university. It's a playoff game. I don't care. I'm going to North Carolina. I'm gonna be in the ceremony. I'm really, he was in the band. He was very happy. But how often did you see Vince really get angry, or really, like, when I always use the term, put his foot on someone's throat. When you have your foot on someone's throat and you just put the dagger in him.
In the Olympics, that was the last time I saw that. When he dunked over the guy from France. That was it. I haven't seen him that angry since.
Right, and I think it's because they said, "Hey, you might not be. The stage might be too big for you with all these other stars, right?" And he had something to prove. I remember a game where he got hit. I was sitting baseline right underneath the basket. He got hit and he fell, and he was going to start to do, like, rolling around like he was really hurt. Listen, I love Vince. I'm just saying. And Charles Oakley ran over and said, "Get up!" And he bounced up. And I'm like, "All right, dude, see, you weren't hurt, so get up then." So I'm floating this out there again. Is it the fact that his favorite player was a Vince Carter who didn't have that killer mentality? Because let's be honest, Vince Carter, skill-wise, like, we always talk about skill, and I always say stop giving people credit for skill. Give people credit for production. Because Vince Carter is more skilled than Michael Jordan, but you would never say he was a better player than Michael Jordan. What's the difference? The killer instinct. That nasty will to win. So could it be that because that was his favorite player, that's who he saw? And again, his just personality. Kevin Durant looks like he's a happy guy.
He does.
Right. But then I look at guys like, and I'm not saying this guy's as good of a scorer, but then I look at a guy like Devin Booker, who looks up to Kobe. And he drops 70, right? Because he had there's that fire, right? The Jordans, there's just those guys. And I think, so is that possible? Is it because of?
Yes, it is. Absolutely, it is. You can adopt a guy's game, and you can adopt his mentality too. Like, I want to play like that. I want to be like that. And when I think about a great scorer, I'm thinking about a guy who you're not going to let me off the hook. Go after him and continue to go after him. The thing that I dug about Jordan, the thing that I dug about Bryant, the thing that I dug about James, they're not going to let you off the hook. Once Jordan got going, forget it. He was not going to let you off the hook. And if he was going to have one of those nights where you thought it was going to be special, you better believe that we're going to him and he's going to keep pounding on you. KD seems like that kind of scorer where I think 45 is enough. I think I'll stop at 47. I think I'm good at 39. I don't need to score anymore. As opposed to Bryant, where I got 40, maybe I can get 50. If I got 50, I can get 60. If I got Bird is another prime example of that. I think they played the Detroit Pistons. Kevin McHale is on his way to 50. Bird is making sure that that's going to happen. Kevin McHale asked out of the game, and Bird says to him, "You better get 60 because I'm going to do it real soon. I'm letting you know that right now." And a week later, Bird does it. So I think KD, as great a scorer as he is, you can make the argument that he does let people off the hook. Absolutely, he does.
I don't know why. As you were saying that, all I could think about was this football comparison, and it might be way off, but I'll throw it out there. Tom Brady has a lead on you. He still throws another touchdown. He dumps that. Yeah, he puts that. He pours it on. Exactly. Matthew Stafford has a lead on you. He throws you a pick six. He gets you right back in the game. That's the difference. So again, all right, let's do it. So Kevin Durant retires today. Is he top 5 greatest scorers of all time? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. I'm also going to say yes, but I'm going to say it's because of this. It's because
you don't think so, Tone. You don't. I can see it in your face, Tone. You don't think so. It's almost like I'm convincing you that he is, or I'm pushing you toward the fact that he is. I don't think you really think he is.
Here's my problem. I'm battling within myself because when I look at any player, right, I want to look at their eye test. And when I look at Kevin Durant, I see a great scorer. I see a guy that could score from anywhere on the court, can make every shot. When I look at his stats, because that's the next thing I look at a guy who's top 4 all time in points per game, one of the most efficient shooters ever. So statistically, he's there too. I look at accolades. Well, he's got
Mhm.
4 scoring titles, so he's got the accolades. So there's nothing in his resume that would make me say he's not a top 5 scorer of all time.
Mhm.
But there's this thing that just keeps digging in my gut and says he's not a killer. Now, maybe you don't have to be a killer. He's just
Yes, you do, Tone. Yes, you do.
He's just a super efficient, really consistent, all-time great scorer. And again, I'm going to use another football reference. I don't want my thinking of the way that I want him to do it, which is to be a killer, to put his foot on people's throats, to drop 60 in a playoff game and say, there, we won, and it was because of me. Take that. I want to see that. But I don't want that to be it. And why I was going to say the football reference, because I've had this argument about Cooper Kupp. Well, Cooper Kupp isn't as a good a wide receiver as you think because he doesn't play on the outside. He's only in the slot, and he only does this, and he only does that. I don't care. Guess what? It works. Stop it.
It does work.
Stop
yes, it does.
So when I say Kevin Durant isn't that guy, but you know what? He's got the Finals MVPs. He's also got 2 rings and all these. So he's got all the things that when I make my do you remember the Ben Franklin? For those that are young, there's this thing called a Ben Franklin where you do, like, when you have a decision to make, you put all the positives on one side, all the negatives on the other. When I do my Ben Franklin on Kevin Durant, it's all over here, and there's only one negative. And that one negative keeps eating at me. Like, why can't he just, I remember the Bulls of the 90s. And you know what I loved about the Bulls of the 90s? The first half of almost every game, and I'm talking about the 72-10 year.
Yep.
Actually had more, but specifically that year. The first half was always close. It was they weren't blowing out teams in the first half. Then the third quarter came, and it was like a different team played, and they would go up by like 25. And then I would watch them in the fourth, and they would coast. I mean, there were times Jordan, Pippen were out halfway through the fourth quarter, didn't even play. And I was just like, and they would just destroy your spirits in the third. That like today, and other teams, because this is very specific to them, not the era. Today, you have a 20-point, 30-point lead. It's not safe.
It's not.
Now, some of that is 3-point shooting, because if you get hot, you can catch up. But even in the 80s, the 90s, the 60s, big leads, right? Basketball has always been, since the Peach Basket era, has always been a game of runs.
Right.
But there was something about that team that when they put their foot on your throat and stomped down on it in the third quarter, your will was done. I rarely saw a comeback when they had a big lead in the fourth. Now, some of that was defense. Of course, they had a great defense.
Right.
But it was just like, it was something different.
Now,
I haven't seen enough of that from KD.
And I say that to reference KD in the idea that when I get you in the chokehold, I'm not letting you up. KD, he's one of those guys as a scorer, as great a scorer as he is. And I dig everything about his game. I watched him score, average 30 against James the first time they saw them in the finals. I saw a different guy in the 16-17 season when he went against James in the finals again and went after James as a scorer.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think that he was over the idea that it was James and then him. I think that he was over that. He
realized I can be number one.
I think that he was over that. But to your point, I have a difficult. I remember watching the Utah Jazz, Tone, when I was in Utah. The Utah Jazz had exactly what you were talking about with the Bulls, where when they got you in the chokehold, they weren't letting you up. If you down 15, if you down 18, they're not letting you back in the game. You can forget about it. When I see Kevin Durant as a scorer, if he's got a Kevin is one of those scorers where he can score 12 or 13 in the first quarter, and then he'll kind of turn it down, and then he'll score another 8 or 9 in the third, and then he'll score 6 in the fourth, something like that, something to that effect. Where if you got it going, I would like to see you pour it on. Don't let this guy off the hook. And I've always felt like that's who Kevin Durant is. He lets a lot of guys off the hook.
I'm going to give you one other non-basketball reference, because I'm kind of a closet wrestling fan, and I was a huge wrestling fan as a kid. And one of my favorites was The Undertaker, because I just the whole death thing and the rolling the eyes back, and like I dug it. Right. So he had this move where he'd give you a choke slam.
Love the choke slam.
Right? He'd get
Love the choke slam.
And then pick you up and slam you down. Kevin Durant almost reminds me of, like, he got you in the chokehold and he looks at you and says, do you give up? Do you give up? And if you say, yeah, you win, he'll just let you go. And again, this is why I'm saying I have him, yes. top 3 scorers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But what bothers me is that I wanted him when he had you like that to just pick you up and slam you down, and he just didn't do it enough. He did it a couple of times, but it just, that 60-point game, even that just kind of, I don't know, just I'm like, why can't a guy that's so good, that's so consistent, that's so efficient, that can shoot from everywhere on the court, that can do everything, how come he hasn't dropped 60? It's just
not one time.
Not one time. It's weird for me. So the conclusion is, yes, Kevin Durant is one of the greatest scorers of all time. I think he's the most versatile scorer of all time. He's one of the most efficient scorers of all time. So if you're hating on Kevin Durant, you're wrong.
Oh, by the way, since we on the subject of scoring, and my co-host right here, who is not really feeling it, I just want him to know that 2 days ago, 60, I believe it's 60 years ago, Will scored 100. I just want to put that on your mind.
Who's this? Sir. Who's Wilt?
Exactly. So I just want to put that on your mind.
Oh yes, that fictional biography. Yeah. I believe I don't know if you know this, and I'm doing my best LeVar Ball. I'm trying to speak something into existence. Mm-hmm. So I have this idea of either fictional biographies, so ones that other people write, or fictional autobiographies. And I want to get in like 10 filmmakers to do these like shorts of fictional autobiographies or fictional biographies on people. Mm-hmm. I think Will Chamberlain was the first one. All right, here we go. Next topic. Next topic. We're sticking in the NBA. The Lakers, my Lakers, were booed. Here, I got to tell you, I'm happy they were booed because it means finally the fans of LA care enough. Like sometimes it's like, oh, when they win, we love them. When they hate, we just don't show up. I like that they're passionate. I love it. So the Lakers got booed. Russell Westbrook said, and I quote, "If they boo, they can take their ass home. I ain't worried about that. It doesn't bother me none." Mm-hmm. I don't know if my bigger concern is the way that the Lakers have been playing or the fact that if he truly believes it doesn't bother him, then and now there's a report, I don't know if it's real, that now in the offseason they're going to look to trade him. You're my second best player because AD's hurt. You're the one that was supposed to be that third guy to make the big three of AD, Bron, and you. You were going to be that piece that we needed coming back to LA to get us another title. You don't care? You don't care that you're losing, or you don't care that they're booing? Either way, if you don't care, I care. I have a problem. Mm-hmm. When you hear stuff like that, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Other than I want to talk about choke slams.
Front runner. Tony, you ever watch anything on television and in the middle of it, you're like, get this off my TV. This is trash. Like, turn this off. This is absolute trash. I'm watching the Lakers the other night against Dallas, and I'm not disgusted, Tone. I'm just not interested. And the reason why I'm not interested is because it's the same thing we've been going over time and time again. There's an effort issue. There's a rebound issue. There's a continuity issue. There's a rotation issue. There's a play specifically that I watched where Luka's coming down and he swings the ball. Russ gets caught on the screen. Dwight Howard comes over. Luka swings the ball. The ball gets swung again over to Finney. We got 4 guys from the Lakers in the paint. Russ is walking over to Finney, who's wide open. He's not making any effort whatsoever. Nobody's blocking out. Luka comes right down the lane and throws it over the top of Dwight Howard. I'm thinking to myself,
that putback dunk.
This is 8th grade basketball where we teach you simple stuff. Find a guy and block out. Give me some effort. It's the same thing over and over with these guys where it's getting nauseating to talk about, Tone. I'm just sick of talking about Russ, his ability to take care of the basketball. Russ has never been one of those guys who's been efficient at taking care of the basketball. He was doing the same thing in Oklahoma City. He was doing the same thing in Houston, right? He was doing the same thing in Washington. There's no reason for me to think that when he gets to Los Angeles, it would be any different. Russ is the guy who I think he gets a lot of hate simply because of how stubborn he is. Now, I will tell you this, Tone. I'd say front runner because, when everybody's cheering for you, you love them. they love you, and you bring the cheers. But the minute the boos is, I don't care about that. Yes, you do. You absolutely do. Which would explain why when you got on the stage and got your league MVP and you almost broke down. You know why? Because you were happy. Those emotions came out of you. With all of that being said, Russ is the guy who's just a part of the problem in Los Angeles. They got a bevy of issues in Los Angeles. None hasn't been healthy. Bazemore just got back into the rotation. Tone, I forgot he was even on the roster. You just got him back into the rotation. Ellington hasn't been in the rotation. The only bright spot, with the exception of James, is Monk. Anthony Davis, we aren't sure if he's even going to be on the crew next year. This team's going to be completely different next year. I'm certain of it. Because I already know AD, James, and THT. These are the only three guys that was on the team last year that's on the team this year. I doubt very seriously that we're going to see a similar roster next year like we do this year. I think that Russ has something to do with what's going on, but I don't think he's the complete catalyst. When I think about Russ, Tone, I think about a girl. I don't know if I've ever said this to you. You know that girl that you meet, she's absolutely fantastic. You meet her, she's great. You guys are having a great time. But then you find out she's not really that smart. And you know why she's not that smart? Because she's stubborn. She doesn't listen, and which makes it worse. I'm going to do things the way I want to do them. And that affects you guys. Yeah. That's who Russ is, because it's so disappointing because you see so much potential in him, right? I've seen so much potential in Russ. I thought he was better than Derrick Rose when I first saw him. And then as time went on, I'm thinking, this guy will not change his game. This is who he is. And he's not going to listen. And him being stubborn, and that stubbornness from him affects his game mentally, because it makes him look like he's not that smart. And it's a detriment to what the Lakers are doing. But Tone, when I think about the Lakers, it's nauseating, to be honest with you, because it's the same thing that we keep going. It'd be one thing if we was talking about, Avery Bradley, if he could be a better passer, or James needs to rebound. You and I talk about the Lakers, and it's the same thing. It's nothing different that we talk about when we talk about these guys. It's the same thing.
Do the Lakers, now I get it, there's injuries, so consistency is one thing. But do the Lakers lack talent?
I think that they do, Tone, because a lot of the guys that they have are old, and a lot of the guys that they have are past what they used to be. Like Dwight Howard isn't what he used to be. Carmelo Anthony isn't what he used to be. James is. Russ is looking like he still has it, but it's on the other side of what he still has. It doesn't look like it's something that I can still do this at a high level. Now, that might get disproven in another year where he's somewhere else. I can get with that logic. But Ellington, one of the better shooters in the game, right? He should be better. None who's made of glass. I'm trying to figure out what's going on there. But outside of James, outside of Monk, when you talk about the talent level on the Lakers, it's not great. Is THT a great talent?
Well, here, I guess maybe I'll rephrase the question, because I'm going somewhere with this. Do you feel that the issue in LA, aside from injuries, right? Like I've been dying to say this because I heard it the other day and I forgot all about it. Anthony Day-to-Day Davis. Aside from injuries, do you think the issues in LA are more talent related? Because I think they have talent. Or is it effort related?
I think it's more effort than it is talent. I think
that's where I was going with that question, because the effort for me is what I keep seeing. Because you mentioned that play where you saw Russ walking,
literally
on defense. Yeah. Well, where does that come from? I get it. It's internal too. I get it. But why do they pay coaches millions of dollars?
To get you to not walk. To get you to
motivate you and to get you to put in that effort. The job of a coach is two things: the X's and O's, and it might be him or an assistant, or her and an assistant, and to motivate you to put in the effort. Because I'm okay with a team losing. Like I shouldn't say okay, but like if the Lakers lacked talent, right? If the Lakers were, I don't know, who's a team that lacks talent? If the Lakers,
How about Minnesota?
No, Minnesota's got some talent too, but if it's a team that doesn't, yeah, fine, I'll go Minnesota, Sacramento, whoever, right? If they're one of these teams that just they don't have a superstar, Toronto Raptors, don't have a superstar.
No, you do
But
not.
what do you see more times than not? I want to say every game, but you see effort, you see will, you see desire. Well, I'd rather have a coach. I'd rather have a team. I'd rather coach a team with less talent that puts in the work than a team that with all of the talent that tries to coast. Because I guarantee you, the team that puts in the work will beat the team with the talent more times than they lose, because you can't just, I think of baseball when I see guys walking to first base. When I see guys, I see wide receivers jogging their route when they know it's a run play. That stuff drives me nuts. It drives me because guess what? Defenses aren't dumb. As an example, DB will see, well, oh, he jogs. Okay, it's a run. Oh, he's running. Okay, it's a pass play. You're just telling them. So when I see things like Russell Westbrook walking out to their man, and I see the effort's not there, I can't blame this on talent. And honestly, you have Russell Westbrook and LeBron James almost every game. That's enough to win. That's enough to be a play. Look, we're not talking about title contenders. You could be a top 8 team with LeBron James and Russell Westbrook if all the other role players are just giving effort, and those two guys are I'm not even questioning James. I can't believe I feel sorry for James right now. Like, some people say, oh, he's playing out there, he's getting his stats, and nah, man, trust me, you've been to the pinnacle, and now you're aware of your legacy, and you're seeing this team do what they're doing. Trust me, it's bothering me. All right.
Is it ridiculous, Tone? Is it ridiculous to think that the Lakers won't make the playoffs?
No, they're like 1-2 games out of 11th.
They're 2 games out of the 11th spot.
2 games out of the 11th spot.
And you already know how I feel about the play-in tournament.
Oh, I'm telling you right now, if you finish 9-10, you didn't make the playoffs.
You're not a playoff team.
I don't care.
You're not.
I don't care I don't care if you win the play-in and you go on to win the NBA title. I'm gonna question, because you shouldn't have been there.
I'm not a fan of the play-in tournament. But with that being said, I look at what the Lakers are doing, and I'm thinking to myself, these last 18 to 20 games, it's not ridiculous to think that the Lakers might not make the playoffs. It's not ridiculous to think that.
I recently posted, someone asked me, like, if I was Lakers GM, what would I do this offseason? And I said I would trade all 3 of them, because I still think I can get a lot for James. Now, I'd have a conversation with him. I think he may or may not have a no trade clause or whatever, but I'd be like, dude, like, I can't keep just bringing in these guys. It's not work. It didn't work. So,
I still haven't gotten that. So I
know that it's crazy, but Russell Westbrook, people like, no one's taking that contract. Listen, every contract that never was going to get traded got traded. Now, am I gonna probably get pennies on the dollar? Yeah, probably. But I'm okay. I guarantee you, there's still someone who thinks they can get through to Russ, through that stubbornness.
Facts.
AD's a hard one, because now he's got that label of he's not going to be healthy, but he's so talented. Yeah. Someone's going to take a chance on him. I think I can build a really like a playoff, maybe not title contender right away. And I know it's the Lakers and we're all about winning titles, but hey, look how many years we went kind of in the later Kobe years before we got LeBron. We weren't a 30-win team. So to say, hey, I need 3 years, I think 3 years, because I think I can build a roster with draft picks and young talent for those 3 guys and make it, and look, I got to get lucky in the draft. I got to, maybe find a young star. But I'm telling you, if I call up one of the teams that has a young, maybe guard or a young big, float out LeBron, float out AD, float out West, I could probably steal one of them. So
you want to start over? That's what it sounds like to me. Yeah, you want to blow this thing up and you want to start over. Which, let's be clear, Tone. I asked you during the trade deadline, why wasn't everybody available? I wasn't thinking, well, we're gonna have this guy or me. I was thinking, why isn't everybody available? I'm taking calls on anybody that you're interested in. I'm taking calls on everybody. I didn't understand.
FYI, I'm firing Vogel today. I don't even care that there's only 10 games left. Gone. Just out. But I've told you that since his hire. So, all right. It's now time for
drop.
Here we go. Question 1. We got 5 questions, I think, today. No, we got 4 questions today.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We talked about Kevin Durant. He's still not playing. I know he's set to come back at some point.
Tomorrow night. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let's see.
Friday or Saturday? Today, Friday.
I know it's this week. I know that
he's coming back soon.
I know that for a fact. It's this week.
But we don't know. Is he fully healthy? Can he stay healthy? Because I remember, listen, you brought up the Raptors in the finals. I remember the 47, by the way, I think it was in an overtime game against the Raptors in the regular season, which the Warriors lost, just for the record.
They did.
So I go back to, I think of that because in the finals, he came back. He played like 7 minutes in the finals, went for like 75 points in those 7 minutes. But like he went nuts, right? And then got hurt again. So,
13 was like
so just because he's coming back,
11
points in 13 minutes. Yeah, he looked like he was going to take over that series.
Yeah.
But then he got hurt again. So I don't know. Kevin, he's coming back this weekend, but I don't know if he's going to stay healthy. Have we seen Ben Simmons? I
haven't seen Ben Simmons
time frame.
Okay. No, there's still no time frame, and make sure it's on. They're not throwing him out there against Philadelphia in his first game back.
No, absolutely. No, I wouldn't do that either.
They're not doing that.
So we've got question marks about KD, right? Because even though he's coming back, we don't know. He's come back and then gotten hurt right away again. So I'm just putting that out. We're question marks with Ben Simmons. So really we have a team. Kyrie is he hurt again? Is he out again?
No,
is he in again? Is it COVID thing? Like, I don't know what I'm getting with Kyrie. Then I got Seth and Andre Drummond. So I literally have a question mark on every single starter on that team. Can we consider the Nets a title contender at this point?
It's interesting because Vegas has them as the odds-on favorite to win the Eastern Conference, and they are 8th. And I think that's largely due to when you get to the playoffs, we're just going to give KD the ball, we're just going to give Irv the ball, and let's just see what happens. Now, they do have what I have been preaching to you, I've been talking to you about, Tone, for months. They got that big guy in the middle, that dirty work guy in the middle. They now have that. That's a big deal. And Claxton is going to play behind him. Now they now have another long ball shooter to supplement Joe Harris being out and Curry. That's going to help them. Cam Thomas has actually turned out to be a really good pro, which I'm surprised that people aren't talking about. People weren't talking about him. We're talking about a guy who led the SEC in scoring. So I expected him to be a good pro and have a good rookie season. But the problem that we have in Tone is I think the cohesion. I think that's going to be
together.
I think that's going to be the issue. I don't think that they have nearly enough time to get that together, and I think that's going to be to a detriment to them. And I don't think that they're going to be able to go that far because of that.
I'm going to go out right now and give you my hot take.
I already know where he's going with this.
I'll answer the question because we got the question. So I'll repeat the question. Can we consider the Nets a contender at this point? The answer is no. Because we've never seen this Nets team play together. On paper, right? If everyone's healthy, sure, they sound like a contender. How you can say definitively, oh no, this is I'm crazy about Vegas. How can you definitively say a team that's never played together, that has question marks about health, is a contender? I don't know how you can do that. Yeah. So the short answer is no. I'll go as far as to say this. Currently, they're the 8th seed. The ninth seed is Charlotte Hornets. I think they lose that game.
Rewind, Tone. You know who they play in the first in the play-in? They would play your boys.
No. The Raptors are 7th.
Right.
No, 7. No, doesn't 7 play 10 and 8 plays 9? Yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10.
What?
Yes,
7, 8, 9, 10. That doesn't make no sense.
And
this playing thing is dumb.
It is dumb.
Really what it is?
I've always felt like that is dumb.
Why did I always think it was 7?
I thought it was 7-10 too, but then I got educated that it was 7 versus 8 and 9 versus 10.
Well, then that's even worse because the Raptors just dropped 2 beatdowns on them in back-to-back nights. Now, granted, it was Seth Curry and Andre Drummond. I think Kyrie played. But no, well, not the one in Toronto for sure. He didn't play.
Let's just say for the sake of argument, it's Charlotte, Tom. Let's just say for the sake of argument,
I'm just saying a team that's never played together. It's not crazy to think, okay, whether it's Toronto, Charlotte, or Atlanta, those are the 3 teams that are 7, 8, 9, 10.
Right?
You don't think they could lose one game to any one of those teams?
How are we talking about the Brooklyn Nets if they don't make the playoffs, Tone? How are we talking about them? Is this a colossal failure?
Of course it's a colossal failure. Of course it is. And you better blame James Harden.
It's his fault.
100%. And Steve Nash. And
no way, Tone. James Harden's not James Harden's not on the hook for it. First of all, James Harden, he did not want to be there. Okay. I got no problem with that. Just like if the Lakers weren't to make the playoffs, this is a colossal.
Listen, the Lakers did not make the playoffs. If they finished 9 or 10, they did not make the playoffs. And all of y'all said, and I told you, Lakers and Nets in the final. Lakers and Nets in the final. Lakers and Nets might be more likely to be in the lottery than in the final. This is disgusting. You know what I hope this does? I hope this is a Louisville slugger to the back of every GM and owner's head that says, stop trying to build super teams.
Knock it off.
Because keep saying, one, super teams don't exist, because if you don't play super, you're shit. Okay? And two,
he said it. Tone said it. Yes, he did. He said it, and he's right.
You know I don't cuss.
You did say it.
Two, right? Like, build a team. The Bucks should be your example. Listen, you need a superstar. I get it. You need that LeBron James, Giannis, KD, Kawhi. You need that guy, but you don't need 3 of them. Because let me ask you a question. With the exception, no, not even. Give me a team with 3 true superstars that has won a title.
3 with 3 superstars.
3 true superstars.
I think Chris Bosh was a superstar. I think Dwayne Wade.
I think Chris Bosh was a star, and I think Dwayne Wade was a superstar who played like. I think he took a back seat, and LeBron was the star. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. I'll give you. They had 2.5, but they also went 2 and 4 in the finals.
Draymond Green is not a. He was not Draymond a superstar. Green is not a super. Klay Thompson was not a superstar.
Exactly. Draymond Green and Klay Thompson are both great role players. Those are the kinds of guys you want. A guy who can defend, who can bring the ball up, who can create for his teammates. Draymond Green, great role player. Klay Thompson, phenomenal 3-and-D guy. Not a superstar. Like, people will fight me on this, but if you put Klay on another team, he doesn't as a number 1 option. I don't think that team is a title contender. Yeah. They're gonna be good. They'll be in the playoffs again, fully healthy. So who are the superstars? Even then, it was KD and Steph with really great, like, super high level supporting cast. It doesn't work because either one of those superstars from another team has to take a backseat anyways
at some point.
So why waste $90 million on 3 superstars when you can do it with better role players who you won't have the Russ mentality where you got to beat them over a head with a club to say, this is how you need to play in this system.
Right.
So I hope this gives that wake up call. That's where I was going. All right. Question number 2. I'm going to change my last name, by the way.
To
Watt. Because apparently if I change my last name to Watt, I will be a beast as a defender in the NFL. Because anyone who has the name Watt just is a NFL defensive nightmare. All right, so TJ Watt said this, and it was sent to us, I guess, on his behalf. Did everyone else grow up drinking milk with dinner every night?
I did not grow up drinking milk. However, I was a huge, before I became vegan, I was a huge milk drinker. Absolutely. Love drinking milk. And I'm not just drinking milk with cookies. I'm talking about drinking milk with meals. That would be me. I was a big milk.
You drank, so like you had.
Yes, I did.
What was a typical dinner?
I would sit down. You can have me sit down with a plate, a huge plate of fettuccine Alfredo with shrimp pasta and a nice tall glass of milk. I would do that.
Really?
That is not ridiculous. No, that is not ridiculous.
I'll say, okay, so for me, yes, I'll say TJ, you are the only one because I drank a lot of milk. Like I would have milk, I'd have a glass of milk, I would grab whatever food I was eating. I could drink. Sometimes I would just pour myself a glass of milk and drink it, which probably explains why my parents are 5'5" and I'm 6'3". Just saying. And I lived close to a nuclear power plant, so that might also be it too. I
And
actually
he's
glow.
Greek too,
That's why
folks.
I glow. That's why I glow at night.
He's Greek too, folks. So we got that Greek hidden, that lineage in there
That's
too.
right.
Also,
Me and Zeus.
yeah, somebody
And
in there.
so maybe I am related to Wilt. We're all mythological people. So, but I would drink a lot of milk, and like my relatives would be like we want to pop. I'm like, oh, I'll have a glass of milk, and I'm like, well, that's why you're 5'3", and right. So no, but with dinner, I couldn't do it with dinner because like meat and milk was just weird for me. I couldn't bring my fish and milk together. I couldn't bring those two together. And I think I have a lot of friends that are Jewish. I think that's actually a big no-no too if you're Jewish. So correct me again if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure. So maybe I just had that in my head. So no. So I would drink a lot of milk, but not with dinner. Okay. But TJ Watt apparently did. We're going to stay along those same lines. Donovan Mitchell says, is ordering orange juice for dinner weird? Asking for a friend.
No, ordering orange juice is not weird. No. You can drink orange juice. Orange juice is synonymous with breakfast, but orange juice is not just for breakfast. You can have orange juice at any time. Orange juice is one of those versatile drinks that I can have orange juice with a snack. I can have orange juice for breakfast. I can have orange juice for dinner. Orange juice is not one of those drinks that's just synonymous. It's just not.
So you would have your fettuccine alfredo with shrimp and a glass of orange juice?
I could have. I don't know if I'd have the pasta with the orange juice. I might have maybe a steak and orange juice at that time. That's not ridiculous. Yeah, that's not ridiculous. Yeah, absolutely.
I can't see myself drinking a glass of OJ with my like. No, it's too acidic at night. I couldn't do it. So no. So Donovan, OG says yes. He's Jay's drinking OJ. I am not drinking OJ with dinner. So tell your friend no. At least for my behalf, anyways. All right. Now we're gonna get into this is the nasty one. This one's nasty. I know that it's as they say. This one's gonna get messy. I think. I like that we have a diverse audience who watches our show.
We do.
It makes me happy.
We do.
Why is it after a guy and a girl break up, the guy is sleeping or dating another girl within a month?
Well, we move on differently than girls do. Our mentality is nobody cares. As a guy, nobody cares about your feelings. Nobody cares that you're hurt. Nobody cares that emotionally you're damaged. Nobody cares about that. So I can't really talk to my friends about how hurt I am because what I'm going to do is I'm going to compromise my place in the pack. So what I'm going to do to secure my place in the pack is I'm going to keep doing what kept me here. When I was single, I'm going to go right back to that. When in reality, I am hurt. I am cut pretty deep, but I got to keep my place in the pack. So, let's go out and let's go find some girls. Let's act like we don't care. Let's act like I couldn't care less about what's going on. So to keep myself close to what's going on with the fellas, even though that could be detrimental to my mental health, but that's how we move on as guys, primarily, especially young guys.
I minored in psychology, so
you did tell me that. Yes, you did.
I don't know if I did very well. I don't remember my grades, but so this might be way off because who knows? It's been a long time. But one thing I think I remember is that the most kind of like machoist of men, the ones with the most bravado, are typically not always. There's always everything we say, by the way, there's always exceptions to the rule. For the most part. Those ones are the ones who are truly the most insecure. And being with, I'll use this example because there's other ways you can date, of course, but being with a woman makes you feel like, yep, I got this. I'm a relationship dude. Like I got my girl, right? And so I feel like, especially if they were dumped. So I don't know what this question doesn't specifically say, but it just says when they break up, that insecurity starts to kick in when you're alone. Why am I alone? Why does nobody love me? Why am I not good enough? Why am I not good looking enough? Why do I not have big enough muscles? Why I don't have enough money? I don't have a nice car. All of those things are constant because what are you told every single day? You have to look a certain way. You have to have certain things. And we put it on women so often. And the one great thing I think is that women have now come out and said, hey, stop putting this on me. I can't be, rail thin with a bikini and a butt and like you're showing me on these models with no cellulite. Like they're open about it. That's not realistic.
It's not.
The problem is guys have grown up looking at the same magazines where that's the kind of girl I'm trying to get. They don't exist because they're airbrushed. And this is the kind of guy, well, I got to be. Every guy that I know that's 5'10", 5'11", my brother, all say they're 6 foot. Why? You're not 6 foot. You're not. You're 5'10". But they're told, oh, if you're not 6 foot, if you don't have a Mercedes, a BMW, a whatever, that's not enough. If you don't have your own house, your own condo, your whatever, if you don't make 6 figures, well, yeah, you hear that every single day from her. There's this horrible video where this little guy, and I shouldn't have said that, that's actually wrong, but there's a shorter man, he's 5 foot tall, is screaming. I don't know if you've seen, he's like in a donut shop or something. He's screaming. He's like, you know how many people on this dating site said because I'm 5 foot, I should just go jump off a bridge? And then people in the background are like, we didn't say that too. Well, I'm on dating sites and they do, right? It's just like, that's a thing.
It is.
So I think to answer the question now, why do guys do that is, well, because you're insecure and you don't feel good. Because a guy who's secure, right? If I do break up, what do I do? As a secure guy, I'm like, all right, let me be with me for a minute. Whether it's my family, my friends, myself, let me reevaluate what went right in the relationship, what went wrong. Was there something about me, a little self-awareness? Did I do something that caused that breakup? All right, in my next relationship, what do I look for in that person? What were the things I liked about this one? What were the things I didn't like about that one? Okay, how much time do I need to kind of just, decompress? And because we all know rebound things never work.
They don't.
We all know that. And that's a guy who's secure and said, all right, let me figure it out. This person that you're asking about, like that jumps right into the next one is, well, I'm insecure, but I did forget one other type of person. There's also the type of guy, and I know these guys who have to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
They're so uncomfortable being alone that they have to be in a relationship or they just go crazy. And so I guess there's maybe 3 answers to that question. So I hope that helps. But I'll say this to the girl who asked this question. I'm assuming you're asking the question from, hey, I was dating a guy, I broke up and he's immediately sleeping or dating another person and it hurt you. I get it. But I'll tell you this. If you broke up with a guy and he immediately started sleeping or dating another girl, 1, he was probably already talking to them to begin with. Let's be honest. And 2, that's not the guy for you anyways. So again,
three, he ain't over you, just so you know. Don't think for one second.
Part of that is
he's not over you. That's why he got into what he got into so quickly. He ain't over you. He's just trying to get over you.
Yeah, that's another thing. Do you do that to try and forget? Absolutely. So there you go. Keep those questions coming in. I know, listen, don't take our advice with a grain of salt. We're not professionals, but you asked, I feel we had to answer. All right. That's it for this week on Fluent and Chill. We got some big stuff coming. I can't talk about it, but stay tuned. Hit the follow button and the subscribe button, wherever it is, because you're going to want to see what's coming down the pipe. But until next time,
take it light, but take it.